Welcome back to Restless. Welcome back to Restless. I figured I'd say that twice because we're starting with an episode on a really random fact that I bet you didn't know. And that fact is that elephants can't jump. Did you know that?
I didn't know.
That's actually true. That's a true fact, actually. But that's not the fact that we're talking about today. We're talking about a really interesting coincidence, God incidence, about the fact that several of our Restless cast members are members of twins. Did you know that? Diane is a member of a twin. Matt is a member of a twin. They're not twins with each other. And Carmelena is actually the member of a twin as well. So we've got Matt and Diane, and they're twins here. So I'd like to introduce your twins. So Matt, go ahead and introduce your twin.
My twin's name is, Lauren.
Brian? What was it?
Bernadette is my
Bernadette. Oh.
and she and I are both teachers. That's your twin fact for the day.
This is not the Lauren who's like a regular host. This is a special Lauren.
Yes, this is a new Lauren.
Lauren Speraza.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is my twin, Mark. We are both accountants.
That's crazy how both of you guys...
Another fun fact, we are not identical. We get that question a lot.
Oh, yeah.
If you are not the same gender, you cannot be identical. So just putting that out there, please don't ask that.
And Mark is a good foot taller than you. Foot and a half.
We look nothing alike.
Yeah, basically.
I would have no idea that you guys were twins.
Yeah.
How
We
about
always
us?
joked that Mark was, found in the sewer because he doesn't really look like anyone in our family.
A very loved individual.
Yeah. How did that make you feel, Mark?
I'm still recovering.
Yeah. I would be able to tell you guys are siblings, but not twins.
Yeah.
I don't think you're...
Yeah.
You don't-
You know some of my cousins. I think that you would look at me and my cousins and think maybe I was twins with some of them, as opposed to Lauren. Not Vincent.
Yeah, so Vincent, the cousin I know the most, is probably a good 50 pounds heavier than you.
I don't know. I mean, he's also like a foot taller.
And a foot taller than you. So yeah, I mean, I would... Yeah.
When I was 3, Vincent was born and we were the same size.
Oh my God.
No.
Not actually, but
Probably
Might
pretty,
as well have
probably
been.
pretty close.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Wow. So I was not going to ask the question of who came first, but who did come first?
That was me, Mark.
Congratulations. You won a 9-month race by 1 minute.
2 minutes, actually.
2 minutes.
It's two very important minutes that I still think I torture you with
reminds
every single
me
year.
Every birthday. That he
From
celebrates.
8:15 p.m. to 8:17 p.m. on April 4th, I am the oldest.
So for 2 wonderful minutes, you had your mother all to yourself.
I did. Yeah.
And then it was ruined.
It's been an ego boost my whole life that I'm the oldest.
Well, you need whatever ego boost you can get.
I was also born first.
But that's only because I let him go first.
Nice.
Yeah. Lauren twisted that pretty early.
That was supposed to be, it's supposed to
I've
be ladies
been
first.
preparing that joke since we found out about this episode.
She worked hard.
I say that joke every time.
Nice.
Always gets a laugh every single time. To the
Nicely
point
done.
where I like prepare it in advance. I know it's coming.
It's good to have a prepared joke.
Yeah, I know it's coming. When I tell people I'm a twin, the next natural question is, who's older?
Yeah.
So,
And I often tell
every time.
people, I ask them, well, who was conceived first? We don't really know. So, Mark came out first, but I may be older.
We can stop at that.
Yeah. I don't know that there's any way to prove that. That one.
I don't know if I want to know.
Yeah. That's a good
Definitely would have been me.
Yes, Lauren.
Ladies first, right? Except guys have less chromosomes, so I don't know. So let's talk about what are the blessings and the challenges of growing up with a twin? Because I mean, like, did you guys were you ever miffed that you had to share a birthday with somebody else and like only got half the cake or?
Nah.
Not really.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I haven't really. I mean, it would be nice to have your own birthday. That's a selfish take. Because I always used to say it's funny that on your own birthday you have to give someone else a gift. It doesn't happen, but it's never bothered us.
Yeah, I don't think it's bothered us.
Well, at least it bothered me. I don't know if it's bothered you.
No, I mean, we've always just, I think as a twin, you just grow up sharing things. So you get used to it. And as we've gotten older too, our lives have kind of diverged a bit. So, I mean, last birthday I went out just with my parents for my birthday. I think that was the first time. I mean, it felt good,
Wow.
but it's also great celebrating with Mark. So.
What do you guys do now for your birthdays?
Well, last year was also the first year we
time,
were
yeah.
separate.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
Because somebody had to go and get married around the time that we had a birthday.
Boo.
Selfish.
I know. Selfish
Yeah.
person.
I mean, what a jerk. You know?
I
the
know.
heck?
guy.
You couldn't even invite me along for the ride, huh?
I think you were
For the
invited to the
marriage?
wedding, were you? Probably not the honeymoon, but
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the car ride up to Pittsburgh.
down to Pittsburgh.
I hope you took a plane. That's a long drive
Yeah.
from Stamford, Connecticut.
Every direction for me is up. Okay? Even if it's Florida.
Okay.
Up to Florida.
Well, it's like how if you're a Jewish person, you always go up to Jerusalem, no matter where you're from.
Yeah, but that's because it's
Really?
a mountain.
Jerusalem's really just a big
Yeah.
hill. It's
Yeah,
not even
fair
that
enough.
much of a mountain, but
I'm just saying, there's a geographical reason,
There-
topographical.
Yeah.
there is. That's fair.
The only time that I can remember feeling somewhat betrayed that I had to share a birthday was, he has no idea what I'm going to
Yeah,
say,
no idea what it is.
was when I was 5 and we had a cake. It was a big sheet cake and it had like one of those like pictures on it that you can like Photoshop or whatever and then like it's made into sugar and it's put on the cake.
Yeah, yeah.
And his was sports and I had a princess cake and I was miffed because I wanted the sports cake.
Really?
But he was the boy, so he got the sports side, and I
Wow.
got the princess side.
Oh.
And that was the only time I ever remember, actually remember this from when I was 5, being like, man, if I didn't have a twin, I'd have a sports cake.
Wow, that's with you to this day.
I hope you've worked through that.
Yeah,
But that's the only time I can ever remember feeling somewhat bitter about being a twin.
yeah. Let me just go on the air now and say I'm sorry I did that.
I mean, I think our mom too. She made separate cakes. We had separate birthday parties growing up with her friends. So there was some sort of sense of, like this is my day.
Well, did you guys have the same group of friends growing up as your twin? Like we were in the same friend group?
No.
Really?
We did in elementary school, but I think middle school came and it was like, boys and girls.
That's interesting. Because my sister, who's about 18 months younger than me, had the same friend group as I did
Right.
for most of our lives.
You were homeschooled though. No, I know.
So I
mean,
couldn't
like,
pick my friends?
no, I just mean
whoever's
like
there.
you're
Different.
Yeah, well, but you're,
That's fair.
the people available may have been.
More limited.
Yeah.
Okay, dig yourself out of that hole.
Yeah, sorry. That's what this show is for me. It's just me, digging holes and then jumping into them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, our high school graduation class was like 600 or 700 people. So there were a lot of people, friends to choose from.
It's more than my homeschool.
Yeah. just a
Ours
little
was only like 105, I think, right?
Yeah,
So
something like
yeah, so
Still.
we still had some. There was some overlap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's some of the challenges. Can you think of any blessings that have come from having a twin?
Honestly, I know we said, the party thing. This is so shallow. The party thing where that you shared a party, but we also got double the gifts.
Oh, true.
Again, I recognize that shallow, but for a long time
We're
now,
5. That's
yeah.
like that's
I
what
would
you're
No,
also
I'm
about.
talking through, high school.
I would
Through now.
Yeah.
I would also add that Matthew had a straight shot into copying my homework
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
So you're the smarter one?
Yes.
Yeah. Certainly in high school, she was the more motivated one.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
At certain subjects,
I'm a teacher now. So,
as am I.
But so is Lauren.
yeah, but all I mean to say is that if I have students listening to this, don't copy your homework.
Oh, I see. I
Yeah.
see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
What about you guys, the Kremhellers? What blessings have come from your twinhood?
We gotta think about that.
Mark needs a while to think about this.
No. There's a lot of blessings. I think Diane and I, we went to obviously the same middle school, high school. We went to the same university.
Same university.
Fairfield.
Oh, wow.
Same major. So I think it's been, and Diane, this shouldn't surprise anyone. She was, I think, valedictorian in high school, valedictorian in college.
Were you
I was-
valedictorian?
In college, yeah, I was salutatorian in high school.
excuse me.
I actually did not know that. Wow.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
out
was-
of 600 people, you were number 2 in the class.
Yes.
That's wild.
She and number 1 at Fairfield, and so I was a very late bloomer with the academics and with I think being motivated. You just mentioned being motivated, but it was nice to I remember even our freshman year in college, I wanted to do well, and I was studying for that financial accounting, and I came over to your dorm room when you were there, and we sat on the floor, and she worked through problems with me, and so it's nice there's friends that exist that can do that too, but obviously you have a different relationship with your sibling, and so that to me has been a blessing, I think.
So was it ever competitive?
Never.
No,
except for 6th grade in transition math, where I got a 14 out of 14 on a math quiz, and Diane got an 11 out of 14, which is a C, and I ran around the house so happy that I got the 100, and Diane never got below an A from that moment on, and I'm not exaggerating. I am not exaggerating.
Spurred her on to salutatorian.
And so she should thank me for that moment in her life. But other than that,
Do you
we've
remember
never.
this, Diane?
This was the impetus for all the success because I just couldn't take it anymore. No, I don't remember it at all. But he tells this story to everyone.
It was the only time I beat her, but I didn't. We were never competitive ever. I never. With any academic, I could never touch her academically. I was just trying to stay afloat for a little bit.
But you were a sports guy, weren't you?
Yeah, but she was sports too, and certainly I probably was a little more successful with sports, but never. And that goes with our younger brother too. He was a better tennis player than me. I don't think any of us are competitive.
Yeah.
Against each other.
Not with each other, but.
Wow.
And I mean, I think for me, the benefit of Mark is that he's just a very caring person, and he's very extroverted. I'm more introverted, so growing up, I feel like he got me out of my shell because I used to be very, very shy and not talk to a lot of people. And then Mark, having someone go into, you're going into high school with someone, you're going into college with someone, it makes it a lot easier when you're shy because Mark's always, he's always looking out for you in terms of, maybe she's a little bit lonely, or let me introduce her to, his tennis friends.
That's a blessing.
Yeah.
Someone's always got your back.
Yeah.
In a sense.
That was definitely Mark. And I mean, he's very smart too. He's top. He's going to probably make partner at EY. He's a very motivated individual, just very hardworking, especially now that he has a family. So, you just different stages in life.
Lauren was shaking her head as if you guys don't have each other's
Matt,
back.
take it away.
Well, it wasn't that we didn't have each other's back. I think that truly, if I were to own up to it, I think that I neglected Lauren our freshman year of college. We went to Belmont together, and I think the evidence that I neglected our twinhood is that she transferred after freshman year.
Well, okay.
But
Let's not get into that.
but I mean, in high school. In high school, we definitely, like I said, we had a bunch of the same friends.
Yeah.
And so there was definitely a semblance of I got your back, you got mine.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it ever took the form of academics or sports. Because I think that, I mean, she was always just way better of an athlete than I was.
And he kind of had his music.
Yeah.
So
we had different things that we were both good at, and we were willing to praise each other for it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's great.
Similarities, differences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you guys were growing up, were you close to each other? And how has that relationship been? Has it been closer now that you're adults, young adults? Is it kind
we were close growing up. In college, again, just by the nature of, honestly, it was we went to college freshman year. I spent, I think, the least amount of time I ever had with you, despite going to the same school. I mean, in Nashville, so it was we were away from home too. And then when she went to Fordham, we started calling each other more often.
yeah, I would agree with that.
And then now, my journey of faith is that in college I kind of walked away from the faith, and that I think might have been a I don't know about a divider, but certainly a wall to an extent. But went through a pretty massive reversion of faith. Lauren herself did that. I don't know about recently because she always had a strong faith. Her faith was always stronger than mine was. But we've both come into this adulthood of faith, and we're definitely closer than we've ever been. That's the uniting factor.
I think it's interesting that you mentioned freshman year because we were always pretty close in high school, and he always kind of took on a little bit of a protector role. I think I just maybe lived more under a rock than he did, and so he's always kind of looking out for me, and then when we went to college, that freshman year, I didn't see you I didn't see him at all.
Yeah.
And then when I left, I remember that summer, sort of in between freshman and sophomore year, that our relationship was like a little bit rocky. Like we were very clearly in very different spots in our lives.
Yeah.
And I think on my part there was a little bit of like resentment towards it. And then like I had to like sit down and like take a serious look. Not that I would have called it that back then. But I had to like sort of like take a look at like where it went wrong and like where we could sort of make that ground up. And I remember going to Fordham. That's where I did the rest of my college. And just like making the decision that like, okay, like we're separate now. We have two different lives. And like now you actually have to like put an effort. And I think it was that effort that sort of brought us together, because I don't know if either of us would have called it that back then, but there was a little bit of like, okay, we're going our separate ways, but like also we wanna be united still at the same time.
Yeah, well, it's almost like you can take it for granted when you're growing up in the same house.
We did.
Because I mean,
We
you're
did,
same
for
school
sure.
and everything, and then once you're not in the same house, it does take effort.
Yeah. But I think that actually made us grow closer,
That's awesome.
Oh, it definitely
way.
did. Yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely did.
because like you said, it
It's the maturation of a relationship.
yeah.
It's, you know.
Yeah.
And we I think for me a little bit too, it was easier to get to know you when we were separated. Because we weren't on top of each other all the time, but also like it was kind of nice. And I don't know if Diane and everybody would say the same thing, but it was kind of nice to like have my friend group and like my route in life, and then
Yeah.
I would invite him in. So it was almost like an invitation, like now I wanted you to be a part of it,
Sure.
Yeah.
rather than him just naturally being a part of it.
Yeah, there was like a running bit growing up that I used to date her friends.
No, he used to steal my friends, and I will stand by that to this day. He stole my friends.
So that's I should have prepped with the questions, but yeah, you're definitely right. Like the distance, you know, matured the relationship.
Yeah, because it now, and like vice versa, like he was able to invite me into certain aspects of his life that I think had we been together in college or for the whole amount of college, wouldn't have necessarily been a thing, because I don't know, I usually just assume that he knows what's going on in my head without me having to tell him.
That's interesting. So what about you guys, the Diane and Mark?
I mean, I think we were, you take it for, like, it kind of resonates. You take for granted the fact that you live with this person, and we went to the same elementary, middle, high school, college. I would say we were close. Like, we would study together. We would do things even in college, just hang out and things. What happened was we had the same major, but we ended up going to different firms. So Mark's at UI, I'm at PwC. And I think that's kind of when, I don't know, Mark, if you agree, that's when our lives kind of started to separate a little bit, just because we were, it was the first time that I was really on my own, or felt like I was on my own.
Yeah.
And especially now too, Mark is married, so we're at different states of life, right? Like I'm not married, and he has 2 kids, one on the way, and I think that's also brought us closer, because Mark lives close by, and I love my nieces. I see them all the time. So there's just been, it's kind of like a maturation, I guess, of the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think growing up, we weren't like some twins are like, attached at the hip, and I wouldn't say, like, I was much closer to probably our younger brother. Shout out to Eric. Hopefully we'll see if he gets this far in the episode, but we won't tell him as he's mentioned in it. But yeah, I think, and I was a little more immature, and it's taken me a while, I think, to see this maturation of the relationship. But like Diane said, I think being at much different stages of life at the moment, it is different, but it's a joy to me to see both my daughters are excited to go see Aunt Dee Dee on a weekly basis. And so that to me, and I think when you mix in the fact that like the faith element to things too, I think I've matured a lot there too. And Diane's certainly a role model that, I look up to, and I think that's helped strengthen the relationship too.
So that's a question that's always amazed me, because like you kind of talk about in the faith, like, the parents passing on the faith, but there's always that question of like nature versus nurture, right? How much of the faith comes from our parents, and how much is just God's grace just kind of leading us on our own unique paths? And because you guys had the same parents and literally the same DNA for the most part, right? It's that, how much would you say of your own faith journey was impacted by your family, and how much was just pure, grace from God?
Growing up, a lot of it was from family because I had a lot of older role models. And I have a distinct memory where I had started going away from the faith, and we were sitting at my uncle's pool, and it was Lauren and my cousin Christina, and I made a comment, and I remember them looking at me like, "What the heck is this guy thinking? Like, are you kidding me?" And that was like a distinct moment where I was like, I'm just not there anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just not there anymore. So growing up, it was like I had this kind of false piety, because I had older cousins that were religious, and I knew that was the way to go. And it was almost like it was weird. It was like cool, to be religious, because that was what my older cousins were.
Wow, what a great gift.
Yeah. No, it was a good gift, but it was a shallow faith. I'm gonna cut myself some slack insofar as I was like 14.
Yeah.
But you can make the argument, right? That was the ground that got tilled, and allowed something to flower later.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So it played a role. It played a role, and it probably kept me out of way more trouble than I would have gotten into had I not had my cousins and Lauren.
It's funny you mentioned the pool, because I remember that moment.
Do you really?
Being with our cousin, and he was in the swim pool and I was outside the swim pool, and I don't even remember what comment was made, but
we don't have to go there.
Yeah, I know. I do remember what comment was made. That was small white lie for the sake of not getting
not
too
throwing
deep
me
and
under the bus.
personal.
When we turn this off, I need to know what comment was.
Yeah.
But I remember that comment and being very concerned about you, but that was also kind of a larger moment in my life, because up until that point I had never really questioned why I believed what I believed, and nobody ever challenged it, because we grew up in a family that was all Catholic, and we all had the same beliefs, and it was kind of just assumed that that's how it was. And up until, like I said, I was kind of maybe a bit more of an innocent child. So up until I went to college, I really believed that everybody believed the same things I did. And I didn't question it. And then that was really the first moment that I had to like take a step back, particularly on that one topic, which again, we won't mention here. But
did that shake you or shock you? I mean, to think that your own twin.
Actually, it made my belief stronger in it, because I knew he was wrong.
It's the via positive and the via
You're
negative.
welcome.
I knew that like the arguments that he had presented, I knew had holes in them.
Gotcha.
That they were faulty arguments.
Yeah.
And that one moment actually, I wouldn't say that was like the catalyst for like where I'm at now in my faith, but
a big stepping stone.
Yeah, but it actually made me like realize that some people don't have the same beliefs.
What an interesting gift of grace, right? The moment
Yeah.
that Matt turns away, you deepen.
Yeah. In a way, yeah.
And then God has to bring Matt back by
And then God brought Matt back.
circuitous
And he
then-
did.
routes.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time, yeah.
And then, I watched him grow in his faith. And then, that made me want to turn around and be like, okay, like I want to grow even more in mine. So it was kind of like a push and pull a little bit
That's awesome.
between the two of us.
That's really cool. What about your guys' story?
I think for us, we grew up in a very Catholic household. I think our parents did a phenomenal job in what I would say laying the foundation of the faith that we needed and giving us the tools to use. And so I think without that, I can't imagine we'd be kind of where we are. And that extends to our, our uncles and aunt and our late grandmother as well, just seeing their examples. I do think, and like having children now, I think you don't necessarily recognize the importance of what they did, or at least I did in my own kind of immature mind. Because, even saying the rosary every Sunday before we went to mass, or, making confession a regular thing, as a 15-year-old, you're just rolling your eyes, kind of going with the flow, and you really don't understand it. But now I've had over the last, 3.5 years, a much deeper appreciation for how hard that is. And I think it's,
now being a parent, right?
Yeah,
trying to raise Catholic daughters,
and now that, but with the added element of all the access to screens, and it's just a much more complicated world that it's really hard to kind of regulate.
Sure.
But my thought is, as parents, you got to at least give your kids the tools to navigate the world with our faith. Because there is an element too where I never strayed from the faith. I always. I've always had a very strong belief, but it's certainly deepened recently. But that's also due to the fact of, going to college, being, a young professional in the workforce, being around, a more secular society certainly draws you closer to the Lord, in my opinion. And I think, allowing someone to do that and kind of come to terms with it themselves while having the tools, I think was very critical for me. And it's, as I've gotten older, and again, like I said earlier, with having children, I've realized, just how important, even going to confession more frequently is. And I've thought a lot more about, what's next versus staying in the moment. And so that, and those tools were I mean, without our parents, we'd be, we wouldn't even be accountants.
Yeah, no, I agree with all that. And I think, especially just me seeing Mark kind of just go through the different stages of life, I definitely think he, after having kids, he really just does value the faith. And certainly kind of we share that desire to grow, and to become saints. And I see that in him a lot, just our conversations, like him asking for prayers. I think growing up, we got the foundation laid. I've always been like very intellectually curious. So it was more for me, like in my mid-20s, it was kind of like what you said, Lauren, of just, you thought that everyone believed what you believed. I don't know if I went that far. I knew people didn't believe what I believed, but I was never the type of person who would just accept something just because it was, what my family did. I wanted to be able to give an account sort of for why I believe what I believe. And so I just I've always been a reader, and I started getting into a lot of apologetics and,
Right.
Scott Hahn, these conversion stories,
Yeah.
and spiritual reading, and that kind of just, for me, it's the more you know, the more you love. So parents certainly lay the foundation. And then for me, it's the beauty of the Catholic faith is that you really, all these doctors of the church, all of these spiritual writers and these, converts, they've answered the questions that you have. So it wasn't enough for me for someone to tell me, go to mass on Sunday. Why? I always wanted to know the why. And I think that's the exciting part about the faith, of that, that's why I can never get enough of sort of the learning, because you can always go deeper, and there's always an answer to your question,
Yeah.
So to give a better sort of witness to friends and family. And I think what Mark said too about just living in a secular society, working particularly at very secular companies, it's you use those tools and you can kind of help to spread the gospel, wherever you're planted, wherever God plants you.
Yeah.
And I see that more clearly now as I'm older, and more equipped with these things. We have a lot of opportunity to evangelize the culture.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go for it.
How was you getting married and having children? How did that affect your relationship with Diane?
I think it made us closer, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think, my oldest is just over 3, and she and Diane have a dream relationship. She loves her, Diane loves
I feel
her.
like she's my child.
Minus all the stuff that we deal with.
Diapers.
But no, it's been a blessing, and I think I said this earlier, Diane's because Diane has 3 nieces. We have our brother has a young daughter as well, and I think watching her be able to interact with my children and enjoy it, and she's my oldest is godmother as well, and I think even tying it back to faith, it's comforting to me, because I think it's when you select a partner in life too, you got to make sure they're gonna do the same thing you want to do with respect to the faith, and I'm very fortunate that my wife is like that, but also having the extended family like my brother and my sister-in-law, but then more importantly Diane. I know that as she's starting to get a little older now, understanding things, and there's someone else that can also make sure that she's learning the faith, or sometimes Diane and my mom would take her to church when they watched her on Mondays for daily mass, and it's just, I think that's made me closer to you in the sense that she has no obligation to really care about my child. It's only her niece, but she loves her like her own, and it's really wonderful to see.
Yeah, the nieces have certainly softened my heart.
Yes, yeah,
Well, I think
that's true.
yeah, family is so much more than just the immediate family.
Oh, for sure.
Extended family is such a beautiful gift.
Yeah.
So the last question before we sign off is: do you know of any saints who are twins?
Cosmas and Damien.
I googled that and I saw the same thing today.
Yeah.
So who are those guys, by the way?
Oh, I should know that.
I know that
You just
they were
throw out a name.
They're doctors who
Yeah.
gave free services.
Yes,
to
they
people
were.
and then were killed.
Yes.
Probably
church
for
martyrs,
their
I'm guessing.
faith, not for being a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To clarify.
Yeah,
Just an early church.
Or for being a twin.
I mean, that's why we didn't go into the medical profession.
That's,
We were afraid.
We were.
that's fair.
You
That's
know,
fair.
medical twinicide.
Twin, it's like witchcraft, being a twin.
Yeah. I don't know if there are any.
But also,
I'm
there
not
is
sure.
another one. There's Benedict and Scholastica,
Right,
as we
yeah,
mentioned earlier, who both were.
Who were they?
Who were they? We'll say Benedict started the Benedictines, founder of Western monasticism.
Oh, wow. Okay, that Benedict.
That
Okay,
Benedict, yeah.
right.
And his sister, his twin sister, became a nun, I suppose.
She also followed the rule of Saint Benedict. Right?
She did,
Yeah.
yeah. And according to according to some document, Saint Benedict could only visit her once a year, but they had beautiful visits that were
Didn't
very
they die
edifying.
on the same day?
No, they did not.
Oh.
They did not.
I think
Well,
the story was too that she prayed that he could stay. They were talking for a really long time, and because of his rules, he had to get back to wherever he was staying. And she prayed, and this massive storm came so that he couldn't leave. And and she admitted that to him, and he kind of just laughed, I think. And then I believe 3 days later she died. And
Yeah,
then
she did die a couple days later.
He
Yeah.
reportedly saw her rising to. I don't know.
Wow.
Interesting story.
Yeah. So perhaps another set of twins needs to be canonized a saint, and maybe we've got a couple here
Yeah, me
Dibs
and Matt.
in
That's
front
gonna
of
be-
us. That's right.
But you can go first so I can watch you ride.
Thanks. You just wished me to die first? Is that what just happened?
Only a few hours before me, just so I have that opportunity, and then I can follow you.
That's right. Well, thank you for joining us in this episode of Restless, 1350 AM on Veritas Catholic Network, also 103.9 FM. Join us next time. God bless.